I know we gotta cross this ghost he's a woman inside he cannot go I know we gotta cross this ghost
In a scene dominated by titans, where every note, every move, every smile is calculated, 6 boys walk through the door without knocking. This is Boy Next Door. There's something different happening in K-pop right now, especially as the 5th generation begins to take shape. Amid a sea of high-budget spectacle, AI-enhanced precision, and viral choreography, one group has chosen a different strategy: emotional realism. While the industry churns out concept after concept, chasing viral moments and manufactured perfection, 6 boys from KOZ Entertainment walked onto the scene with something radical: genuine connection over illusion of perfection. When Zico founded KOZ Entertainment in 2019, he was building a home for artists who didn't quite fit the traditional mold. The man behind the viral hit Any Song, which topped charts and reshaped the Korean hip-hop landscape and revolutionized Korean hip-hop, had a vision: real music over chasing numbers. But even Zico couldn't have predicted what would happen when he gathered 6 trainees and told them to forget everything they thought they knew about being idols. The group name, BOYNEXTDOOR, was a promise. Sungho, riwoo, jaehyun, taesan, leehan, and woonhak understood that in a saturated industry, the most revolutionary thing they could do as a 5th-gen boy group was be approachable. While others leaned into grandeur and mystique, they carved a different path, one where connection, vulnerability, and emotional sincerity became their standout features. In a generation fighting to stand out, they chose to stand close. In an industry built on untouchable fantasy, they chose to be the friends you text at midnight, the voices that soundtrack your everyday moments, the boys who feel familiar even when you've never met them. BOYNEXTDOOR officially debuted on May 30, 2023, with a bold, triple title track strategy that included But I Like You, One and Only, and Serenade. It was an unusual move for rookies, but a fitting one. Each song captured a different facet of first love, youth, and sincerity. Who, the performance-focused rollout video released during their pre-debut campaign, formed the emotional backbone of what would later be known as the First Love Trilogy. But calling it just a teaser track feels insufficient. But I Like You was a love letter to everyone who'd ever felt too much, too young, too intensely. One and Only leaned into boyish confidence and charm, while Serenade offered a more whimsical, love-struck energy. Each title track painted a complete emotional spectrum of teenage love, laying the foundation for the trilogy to come. The trilogy continued with Why on the 30th of September 2023, which marked the group's first appearance on the Billboard 200 chart. But numbers could never capture what was really happening. Each release felt like reading someone's diary, intimate, specific, and universal. They weren't just singing about first love, they were living it, breathing it, sharing it with anyone brave enough to listen. How completed the trilogy on the 15th of April 2024, becoming the group's first release to top the Circle album chart. But by then, something bigger was happening. Their songs had started as soundtracks to fictional crushes and late-night feelings. But now, the BOYNEXTDOOR had become the soundtrack to a generation learning that it's okay to feel everything loudly and accepting it. And that's where the next chapter begins. It feels both beautiful and terrifying about watching young artists grow up in real time. BOYNEXTDOOR didn't have the luxury of hiding their growing pains behind concept changes or reinvention eras. Every stumble, every breakthrough, every moment of uncertainty happened in front of cameras and crowds.
Yep. No. Who's here? The BOYNEXTDOOR! Let's go! Let's go!
But maybe that's what made them so magnetic. From September 2023 to March 2024, woonhak served as a weekly MC for Inkigayo alongside TXT's Yeonjun, stepping into the spotlight with the kind of natural charm that can't be taught. watching him navigate live television with the confidence of someone twice his age while still maintaining that infectious joy that makes him so endearing. That's the Boy Next Door magic. And he wasn't the only one carving out his own spotlight. Jaehyun began earning attention for his stage presence and emotive vocals, becoming a reliable center in both performances and behind-the-scenes moments. Taesan stepped further into the spotlight as a creative force, penning lyrics, refining melodies, and shaping the group's identity through his writing. Sungho, Riwoo, and leehan each found quiet ways to grow into themselves too, whether through fan interactions, vocals, or subtle leadership. Not only developing as a team, they were growing individually. And the fans noticed. They embraced the messiness of being teenagers in the public eye. Their content captured the offbeat, casual moments of real teenagers figuring things out together. Their live performances had the energy of kids who couldn't quite believe they were on those stages yet. Their interviews revealed young men still figuring out who they wanted to become, and somehow that uncertainty made them more relatable. The industry tried to polish them, but Boy Next Door's genius was in staying slightly unpolished. They understood instinctively that perfection creates distance, but being real is what makes you unforgettable. In a generation of idols trained to be flawless, they chose to be human. But all that growth, on stage, on camera, in themselves, was leading somewhere. Music is a language, and Boy Next Door speaks fluent Gen Z. From their triple title track debut under KOZ Entertainment, they established a signature tone, emotional, relatable, and just rough enough around the edges to feel real. Tracks like Serenade and Crying don't just explore heartbreak, they feel like actual diary entries, with melodies pulled straight from bedroom speakers and late-night texts left unsent. The track But Sometimes leans into quiet vulnerability, while ABCDLOVE brings their youthful chaos to life with playful conviction. Even the B-sides speak volumes. There's intention in every lyric, every layered harmony, every moment of silence. Taesan's songwriting brings a literary quality to their music. These aren't just tracks about love and friendship. They're miniature coming-of-age stories. When he writes about waiting for a reply that never comes, or how even a sunset feels different when you're thinking about someone specific, he's not just writing pop songs. He's capturing emotional snapshots of what it means to be young and uncertain in fifth-gen K-pop. But just as their sound was evolving, so was their reach. Boy Next Door took their first step outside Korea, making their Japanese debut on the 10th of July 2024 with the single album named And. They also released multiple Japanese versions of their songs, as well as a new Japanese language track, Good Day. The single topped the Oricon Daily Singles Chart, marking their third #1 on the platform and signaling that their message translated far beyond Korea. It worked. Their charm, sincerity, and storytelling found a new audience just in time for the most personal project they'd attempt yet. They released an EP on the 9th of September 2024 called 19.99, showing artistic growth without losing their core identity. With memorable songs, the introspective Nice Guy,
Look at my eyes, look at my life, my girl. You like it right?
and the hauntingly catchy Dangerous.
So what? Watch how we pop out. Let's feel our song go pound.
The EP explored the anxieties of youth before they turned 20 and focuses on self-expression and introspection. Not quite kids, not quite adults, figuring it out as they go without losing their core identity. The music industry is full of groups trying to sound timeless, but Boy Next Door understood something more valuable. And as their sound evolved, so did their stage. That's when the ripple effect began to show. Success in K-pop is usually measured in records broken and charts topped. But Boy Next Door's impact runs deeper than numbers. They've changed how an entire generation thinks about authenticity in entertainment. They prove that you don't need to choose between being relatable and being successful, between being genuine and being professional. Their debut tour, Knock On Volume 1, which began on December last year in Incheon and concluded on the 27th of July 2025 in Seoul, was more than a series of concerts. It became a celebration of connection. Fans didn't just scream for them. They sang with them, cried with them, grew up alongside them. The boys who started as strangers singing about first love had become the soundtrack to thousands of people's actual first loves, first heartbreaks, first moments of figuring out who they wanted to be. Other rookie groups began shifting their concepts, choosing vulnerability over invincibility, relatability over mystique. The industry took notice. Maybe audiences were ready for something more honest, more human, more real. BOYNEXTDOOR had created a new template for what success could look like. In a post-4th-gen landscape, their rise became a blueprint for what the 5th generation of K-pop might stand for: vulnerability, sincerity, and rebellion through honesty. But perhaps their greatest achievement isn't in how they changed K-pop, it's in how they stayed true to themselves while doing it. They're still our boys next door, just with a bigger neighborhood now. The future is unwritten for BOYNEXTDOOR, and that's exactly how they'd want it. They've never been about having all the answers. They've been about asking the right questions and finding the courage to share their search for answers with the world. As they continue to grow, to evolve, to become whoever they're meant to be, one thing remains constant: their commitment to truth. They proved that the most radical thing you can do in entertainment isn't to shock or surprise, it's to be honest. BOYNEXTDOOR didn't just change the rookie game. They disrupted the formula, showing that innovation sometimes looks like being real, being present, and being unafraid to grow in the spotlight. They reminded us why we fell in love with music in the first place. Because sometimes, someone else's words help us understand our own feelings. Sometimes, someone else's voice helps us find our own. Sometimes, the boys next door become the soundtrack to becoming who you're meant to be. And in a world that often feels too big, too fast, too much, isn't that exactly what we need? Someone to remind us that it's okay to feel everything, to grow in public, to figure it out as you go. Someone to prove that being perfectly imperfect is the most perfect thing of all. BOYNEXTDOOR dared to be bold. Will you?